Every head in the ballroom turned when Emma entered with her husband, Ryan. The Christmas lights sparkled above polished tables, and laughter floated like music through the air. Ryan looked sharp in his navy suit, smiling the way men do when they want to impress the partners. Emma stayed close by his side, her smile polite but careful. She'd been waiting for this night. When the firm's secretary, Lisa, approached with a glass of champagne and a smirk, Emma already knew something sharp was coming. "No wonder he works late so often," Lisa said sweetly. "I'd stay at the office too." Emma smiled, not wide, just enough to show teeth. "That's funny," she said softly. "I was just thinking how much Ryan must trust you." Lisa blinked, her drink pausing midair. "What do you mean?" she asked, her tone tightening. Emma stepped closer, her voice still warm like they were sharing gossip. "All those late nights. All that access to his computer. It must be nice having someone believe in you so completely. Even after mistakes." Lisa's smirk flickered, the color in her cheeks fading. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but her voice cracked. Emma leaned in until only Lisa could hear her. "Does Ryan know about October 12th? She whispered. "Because I wonder if the senior partners know you've been accessing their confidential settlement files from his computer." The words hit like a hammer. Lisa's glass trembled, the bubbles fizzing in silence between them. "I haven't," she began, but Emma cut her off with a soft smile. "Have a lovely evening, Lisa." She turned and walked away, leaving the secretary frozen in place. Emma's pulse was racing, but her face remained calm. She'd planned this moment for 3 days. At the bar, Emma ordered a gin and tonic, her hand shaking only once. She took a long sip and watched Lisa from the reflection in the mirror behind the bottles. The woman looked pale now, cornered. Emma's stomach twisted with a strange mix of victory and sadness. It hadn't started this way. 6 months ago, she just wanted to understand why Ryan's patterns had changed. Why he was suddenly working late every Wednesday and coming home wired instead of tired. She knew the rhythm of their life like the rhythm of her own breath. And this was not it. Ryan had always worked hard. As an attorney at Miller & Grant, long hours were part of the job. But these late nights felt different. Before, he'd come home exhausted, smelling of coffee and printer ink. Now he came home showered, restless, distracted. Emma checked the credit card statements. 3 hotel charges on Wednesdays, all at the same downtown Marriott. Her heart broke before her mind even formed the word affair. But the truth she found later wasn't about romance. It was something darker, something that could destroy both Ryan's career and the woman who dared to mock her tonight. The first thing Emma did was hire Rachel, her old college friend who'd become a private investigator. Rachel's small office sat above a bail bonds shop, smelling faintly of dust and coffee. "You think he's cheating?" Rachel asked, adjusting her glasses. "I think something's off," Emma said. "And it's not just another woman." Rachel scribbled on her yellow notepad. "What's her name?" "Lisa Moore. She's his secretary." Rachel gave a knowing nod. "They usually are." Emma exhaled, feeling her chest tighten. "Just tell me what you find." Rachel smiled thinly. "Give me 2 weeks." 2.5 weeks later, Rachel called while Emma was shopping for throw pillows at Target. "Your husband's not having an affair," she said without greeting. "At least not a physical one." Emma's fingers froze on the phone. "Then what is he doing?" "Meeting Lisa after hours. Talking. Blah. No touching, no hotels, just conversations." But here's where it gets interesting. Lisa had a DUI on October 12th. The record vanished in 72 hours. Vanished. Sealed. "Someone powerful made it disappear," Rachel said. "Someone who needed her quiet." Emma stood frozen between aisles, her pulse drumming in her ears. Rachel continued. "Lisa has unusual access. Client files, settlement details, even the partner's private notes. Your husband gave her his password. That's normal, right?" Emma asked weakly. "Secretaries need access." "Not this much," Rachel said. "And there are whispers. Billing irregularities." Hours that don't add up. Emma felt the air leave her lungs. You're saying Ryan's falsifying hours? I can't prove it, Rachel replied. But the timeline fits. Lisa's DUI, Ryan's cover-up, the new late nights. It's all connected. Emma sat on the store floor, staring at nothing. So they're both trapped, she whispered. He hides her crime. She hides his. The discovery hollowed her. Ryan came home smiling, kissing her cheek, pretending nothing was wrong. She'd lie awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, imagining the quiet deals he made with Lisa under flickering office lights. Rachel had called it mutually assured destruction. If either one spoke, they'd both fall. For weeks, Emma said nothing. She needed proof, and more than that, she needed the right moment. When the Christmas party invitation arrived, she knew she had it. Public, polite, and full of witnesses. If she was going to end the lies, it would be where Ryan least expected it. So when Lisa insulted her that night, Emma almost laughed. It was perfect. One cruel comment from a woman who didn't know how much danger she was already in. Emma's voice had been calm, her smile soft, but her words landed like thunder. Watching Lisa's confidence crumble in front of those polished colleagues was almost poetic. Still, Emma didn't celebrate. She knew this was only the beginning. She sipped her drink, watching the crowd move like a sea of glitter and whispers, knowing that by morning nothing about their lives, hers, Ryan's or Lisa's, would ever be the same again. Emma waited at the bar for 10 minutes, her fingers tracing circles around her glass. The music shifted from jazz to a slow instrumental as the chatter in the ballroom softened. From where she stood, she could see Lisa alone now, pale and distant, her smile gone. Emma noticed the other wives whispering, pretending to scroll through their phones. That was fine, let them. Jennifer, a colleague's wife, appeared beside her. You okay? She asked quietly. That was harsh. Emma's smile didn't waver. I'm fine, she said. Some people need reminding where their boundaries are. Jennifer glanced toward Lisa. She's been drinking a lot tonight, she murmured. More than usual. I think the holidays get to her. Emma took another slow sip of her gin and tonic. Maybe, she said. But some people drink because they're afraid. Jennifer frowned. Afraid of what? Of the truth, Emma said softly. The woman gave her an uncertain smile, clearly unsure whether Emma was joking or not. Emma turned her gaze back to Lisa, who was now avoiding everyone's eyes. The secretary's confident mask was gone. Fear had found her. Dinner was announced. The partners and their spouses began drifting toward their assigned tables. The soft glow of chandeliers shimmered across polished wine glasses. Ryan appeared beside Emma, his expression tight. What did you say to her? He asked under his breath. Who? Emma replied, feigning innocence. Lisa. She looks like she's seen a ghost. Maybe she has, Emma said lightly. His hand gripped her elbow. Catherine, Emma, what did you do? She met his eyes calmly. She insulted me, Ryan. I just reminded her that trust is valuable. Especially when it's been misplaced. Ryan's jaw tightened. His eyes darting toward where Lisa sat, motionless at her table. We'll talk about this at home, he said. Of course, Emma replied. We always do. Their table was near the front, seated with Thomas Grant, the senior partner, and his poised wife Margaret. Emma greeted them warmly, slipping into her usual role, the composed, intelligent wife who made her husband look respectable. The conversation flowed around her about cases, settlements, and billable hours. But Emma's thoughts stayed on Lisa, sitting 3 tables away, looking like she wished she could disappear. Margaret turned to Emma with a pleasant smile. We haven't seen you at firm events lately, she said. Just busy teaching, Emma replied. End of semester chaos. Margaret chuckled. I don't know how you manage high schoolers. At least they're honest, Emma said, her voice calm. You always know where you stand with teenagers. Adults, on the other hand. She let the sentence trail off with a knowing smile. Ryan's hand froze midair. his fork clinking against his plate. Thomas Grant laughed heartily, oblivious. "Ryan's been putting in the hours, hasn't he?" he said proudly. "Indeed," Emma said, swirling her wine. "He works very late these days." "That's the sign of ambition," Thomas said. "Dedication separates the good from the great." Emma smiled thinly. "It certainly does." The table laughed again, but Ryan stayed quiet, the muscles in his neck rigid. Across the room, Lisa's phone buzzed on the table. She looked down, read something, and turned white. Moments later, she pushed her dessert plate away untouched. Emma didn't need to see the message to know it came from Ryan. The quiet panic across his face told her everything. Within minutes, Lisa stood abruptly and grabbed her purse. Several people looked up, whispering as she rushed toward the ballroom doors. Emma watched with calm curiosity. Ryan muttered, "Excuse me," and stood as well. "Where are you going?" Emma asked, her tone perfectly mild. "I'll be right back," he said quickly, already moving. Emma waited a slow count of 30, then dabbed her lips with her napkin and rose too. Margaret smiled politely. "Powder room." "Something like that," Emma replied, her heels silent as she followed. The hallway outside the ballroom was dim and lined with mirrors. Emma heard their voices before she saw them. Ryan's tone was low and urgent, Lisa's high and shaking. Emma paused near the corner. "She knows something," Lisa was saying. "She mentioned October 12th. How would she know about that unless someone told her?" Ryan sounded strained. "You're overreacting. Nobody knows about that but us. She said something about the settlement files." Lisa's voice cracked. "She knows I've been in them." There was silence, long and heavy. Then Ryan asked quietly, "You accessed those files?" Lisa's voice broke. "I needed to know how bad it was. The Peterson case. It's full of holes, Ryan. If anyone checks, they'll see those hours are fake. And when they do, we're finished. Both of us." Emma's blood ran cold. She'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed made her heart hammer in her chest. "You shouldn't have looked," Ryan said sharply. "You've made it worse." "I was trying to help," Lisa cried. "You're not the only one with something to lose." Emma took a slow breath and stepped around the corner, her heels echoing like a verdict. "Hi," she said sweetly. Both of them froze. Lisa's mascara had run, her face pale under the golden light. Ryan looked as if someone had punched him. "Sorry to interrupt," Emma continued, "but they're starting the gift raffle. Ryan, they're calling your name." Lisa tried to speak, but Emma held up a hand. "You look unwell, Lisa. Maybe you should go home and rest." Silence filled the hallway. Then Lisa nodded shakily, grabbed her coat and fled. Emma turned back to Ryan with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Now," she said softly, "you and I need to talk." Ryan's voice trembled. "Emma, please, not here." She folded her arms, her tone still light. "Then where?" "Because the truth seems to prefer quiet corners." He glanced around, running a hand through his hair. "What do you know?" She looked straight at him. "Everything." His jaw tightened. "Everything what?" "About the Peterson case. The fake billing. The Marriott charges. Lisa's DUI. Her late-night access to confidential files. Shall I go on?" Ryan's mouth opened, then closed again. For the first time in years, he looked smaller than she remembered. Cornered, not powerful. "Emma, please, I can explain," he said finally. His voice barely above a whisper. "Good," she replied. "Then explain." He rubbed his temples, exhausted. "The firm pressures us for numbers. Billable hours, travel costs, results. I started padding things just a little to keep up. Then Lisa found out. She made a mistake of her own, got arrested, and I helped her cover it. After that, we were both stuck." "So you lied," Emma said flatly. "And kept lying." "I didn't know how to stop," he admitted, looking desperate. "It got out of control." Emma's face softened slightly, but her eyes stayed sharp. "You had a choice, Ryan. Every lie was a choice. He sighed, his shoulders sagging. I know. And I hate myself for it. Not enough, she said quietly. Because if you hated it, you would have stopped before you dragged someone else into it. He didn't answer. The silence between them stretched like glass ready to shatter. Then Emma spoke again, her voice calm and steady. Here's what's going to happen, Ryan. Tomorrow morning you'll go to your office, open every file she touched, and figure out the damage. He blinked. And then you'll decide if you want to come clean to Thomas Grant or keep living like this. But if you try to hide anything again, I'll make one phone call and everything will come out. Do you understand me? Ryan swallowed hard. Emma, I'll lose everything. No, she said softly. You'll lose everything if you lie again. He nodded slowly, the color draining from his face. What about Lisa? He asked. She'll resign, Emma said. Quietly. With a good reference. She'll vanish, and no one will question why. Ryan hesitated, pain in his eyes. And us? Emma's tone didn't waver. That depends on whether you become honest again. This marriage isn't built on secrets anymore. You treat me like a fool once more, and I'll end it myself. He nodded again, defeated. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. Emma adjusted her bracelet, her calm returning like armor. Good. Now let's go back before someone notices. She turned, and he followed like a shadow. Inside the ballroom, the music had changed to something bright and careless, as if the night hadn't just cracked in half. At the table, Margaret smiled as they returned. Everything all right. Perfect, Emma said smoothly. Lisa wasn't feeling well. She went home early. Poor thing, Margaret replied. Flu's been going around. Yes, Emma said. It hits quickly. Thomas Grant lifted his glass for a toast. To another successful year, he declared. Everyone clinked glasses. Ryan didn't touch his drink. He stared at the tablecloth, pale and silent. Emma took a spoonful of her chocolate mousse, savoring it slowly. Across the room, the empty chair where Lisa had sat remained untouched, a quiet symbol of defeat. The raffle began. Prizes, laughter, applause. It all washed over Emma like distant noise. She smiled when appropriate, nodding at jokes, but her mind was steady. The power she'd once thought she'd lost was back, clear as crystal. Ryan's hand trembled when he signed their names for the raffle card. She pretended not to notice. Lovely evening, Thomas said as people began to leave. Wasn't it? Emma agreed with a gentle smile. When they finally walked out to the parking lot, the cold air hit her face like truth. Sharp, clean, and freeing. In the car, Ryan tried to speak. Emma, please. She turned on the radio. Soft piano music filled the silence. He sighed, defeated, staring out the window. At home, she went upstairs, hung her red dress carefully in the closet, and slipped into a robe. Ryan lingered in the doorway like a stranger. Can we talk now? He asked. Tomorrow, she said simply. I'm tired tonight. Emma, please. She didn't look up. Tomorrow, Ryan. He stood there for a long time before nodding and walking toward the guest room. She lay down and, for the first time in months, slept peacefully. 2 days later, the firm's internal memo went out. Lisa Moore has decided to pursue new opportunities. We wish her the best. It was professional, polite, and final. Ryan came home at 6 every night after that. No late meetings. No mysterious phone calls. He started cooking dinner again, asking about her classes, forcing small smiles. 3 weeks later, he told her he'd confessed to Thomas Grant, offered restitution, and accepted probation. Thomas was understanding, he said. He said integrity matters most when you've fallen. Emma nodded, watching him carefully. And the confidential files? She asked quietly. Ryan hesitated before answering. I didn't mention them, he said. It's better they stay buried. Emma studied him for a long time, then nodded slowly. Maybe, she said. Or maybe not. He looked confused, but she didn't explain. That night, she stood by the window, looking at the city lights reflecting in the glass. She thought of Lisa's trembling hands, Ryan's broken voice, and the way silence could become a weapon in the right moment. Some people fought with rage. Others, like her, fought with truth. And she'd learned that one question, whispered calmly, could shake an entire world. The following morning, the house was quiet except for the faint hum of the coffee maker. Emma sat at the kitchen table, grading essays, her red mug steaming beside her. Ryan came downstairs in his suit, tie slightly askew, face pale from lack of sleep. "I'm heading in early," he said. "Good," she replied without looking up. "You have a lot to fix." He hesitated by the door, wanting to say more, but she didn't lift her head. The silence between them said enough. When the door closed, Emma exhaled and sipped her coffee, feeling the peace of someone finally in control. At school, Emma moved through her day like nothing had happened. Her students laughed, complained about exams, and passed notes when they thought she wasn't looking. Normalcy felt strange but comforting. During her lunch break, she checked her phone. No messages from Ryan, just an email from Rachel. "He's doing what you told him," it read. "Lisa's already out. Everything's moving cleanly." Emma smiled faintly. Rachel had always been good at tying loose ends. She replied simply, "Thank you." For the first time in months, she felt her life settling into a rhythm that belonged entirely to her. That evening, Ryan returned home earlier than expected. He looked worn but calm. "I talked to Thomas today," he said, setting his briefcase down. "He said he appreciated my honesty. He's giving me a chance to rebuild trust." Emma studied his face carefully, searching for the man she'd fallen in love with, the one who used to laugh easily and kiss her forehead for no reason. "That's good," she said softly. "Honesty's a start." He nodded. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want to earn it." She folded her arms. "Words are easy, Ryan. Show me change." Over the next few weeks, he tried. He woke up early, packed his own lunch, came home before sunset. He stopped hiding his phone, stopped making excuses. There were quiet dinners, small talks, long silences that didn't sting as much as before. Emma watched carefully, still cautious. Trust, she knew, wasn't rebuilt. It was re-earned, one truthful act at a time. When Rachel called to check in, Emma said, "He's trying." "And you?" Rachel asked. "I'm watching." "Good," Rachel said. "Power doesn't always mean revenge, Emma. Sometimes it just means being unshakable." Emma smiled faintly. "That's exactly what I've become." By February, the firm had stabilized. Rumors about Lisa faded, replaced by new gossip about promotions and mergers. Ryan seemed lighter, though still humbled by what had happened. One evening, he brought home dinner from Emma's favorite Thai restaurant. "I thought we could eat together," he said nervously. "Just us." She nodded, and they sat across from each other at the table. The food was good, the silence better. After a few bites, Ryan looked up. "Do you think you can forgive me?" he asked quietly. Emma's fork paused midair. "Forgiveness isn't a favor, Ryan. It's a process. We'll see." Later that night, Emma stood on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the soft snow fall over their quiet street. The world looked clean again, white, simple, untouched. She thought of how easily lies could stain something beautiful, and how hard it was to scrub them away. She remembered Lisa's terrified face at the party, remembered her own calm voice slicing through the noise like glass. Power, she realized, didn't come from shouting or proving someone wrong. It came from knowing the truth and choosing the exact moment to use it. Timing had been everything that night. Ryan joined her on the porch, hands in his pockets. "Cold night," he said. "It's peaceful," she replied. He stood beside her quietly. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said finally. "I was scared. I thought if I told you, I'd lose you." She looked straight ahead. "You almost did." He nodded. "I know." For a while they just stood there, watching their breath curl into the air. "Thank you for not destroying me," he said softly. Emma turned to him, her face unreadable. I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. I needed my peace back. The months that followed were steady. Ryan's probation went smoothly, and he began mentoring new associates instead of chasing bonuses. He spent weekends helping Emma with her school events, showing up quietly, trying to rebuild what he'd almost lost. Emma noticed the change, but she kept her guard. Some days the hurt faded. Other days it pulsed faintly beneath the surface, reminding her what betrayal felt like. Yet she also noticed something new inside herself, a calm strength that had grown from surviving truth instead of hiding from it. She wasn't fragile anymore. She was deliberate. By spring their marriage was not perfect, but it was honest. They spoke openly, sometimes harshly, sometimes gently, but always truthfully. The fear had drained out of their conversations, replaced by understanding. Ryan often said, "You saved me." Emma never corrected him, though she knew the truth. She hadn't saved him. She'd forced him to face what he'd become, and in doing so she'd saved herself. Every woman, she thought, reaches a point when silence becomes heavier than truth. That night at the Christmas party had been hers, and she'd spoken exactly when the silence deserved to break. On a quiet Sunday morning months later, Emma sat by the window with her tea, sunlight streaming through the glass. The house was peaceful again, filled with the faint hum of life returning to normal. She thought about Lisa somewhere out there starting over and Ryan still rebuilding piece by piece. Power wasn't about revenge. It was about choice. She had chosen to speak, to protect her dignity without destroying herself in the process. As she closed her eyes and smiled, she whispered, "Never again will I be small." The world outside was calm, but inside her a fire still burned, steady, quiet, and unbreakable.